Our next guest is the nose behind best-selling perfumes like Donna Karan's Black Cashmere and Tommy Hilfiger's Dreaming.
But just what is a nose in this context? Well, I did a quick search. It's supposedly someone with an uncanny sense of smell, able to identify differences between even the most subtle of scents and to combine them to make some, well, head-turning perfumes.
That's right. I guess a cold wasn't very good for these
doesn't sound like it would help.
Have a nose.
Yeah, no. It sounds like it would be a problem. Well, let's ask our guest this morning, Trudy Lauren, who is, as anyone in the perfume industry will tell you, a true blue nose. So, morning, Trudy.
Good morning.
An interesting term, you know, to say. Do you call yourself, I'm a nose? I mean,
I think it's the simplest word to use to describe what I do in creating fragrances.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is something that is learned over time. Did you have always a keen sense of smell, or did you train it?
It is definitely a trained profession. Yeah. We have to go through at least 2.5, if not 3 years of memorizing over 2,000 raw materials. And then after that, we work as apprentices to master perfumers to learn the craft of blending the notes together.
Okay, so a lot of training involved, but I understand from a very young age you were encouraged to go down this career path by your mother, is that correct?
Well, actually, I fell into the business by accident because I am a biochemist by education, and I started out as an analytical chemist with the fragrance company. Mm-hmm. And they gave me a smelling test where I had to identify different raw materials, and I think I passed because then I went on to do my perfumery training. But I often look at it as comparable to piano lessons. Mm-hmm. Everyone can take lessons and practice. Some are going to excel at it, and others will not.
But I guess some people say you're either born with it, you know, certain bits are talent, you know, naturally inborn talent.
Absolutely. I do think that there's a certain affinity for it, but I don't know, unless you are raised in a generational family of perfumers, will you actually know that until you start smelling.
Was that for you? I mean, at home, were there always different scents sort of around? Did you, did you sort of feel that, when you got into this role, that it wasn't too far-fetched? It was something that,
Well, I've always loved perfume, and I don't know whether that's just because, you know, being a woman, smelling your mother's fragrances, always playing at her vanity, but I was definitely drawn to it, and then there was an instant love when I started in the industry.
Okay, so when you're training to be a nose, can you give us the Perfume 101 in 30 seconds?
In 30 seconds, you smell a raw material on a blotter, you put it down, and then the first association that comes into your mind is what you retain. Because in many cases, these materials we are not experiencing on a daily basis, so the most important thing in memorizing them is to make an association with something that you know so that you can recall it afterwards.
Okay, so you don't actually have to know the actual item itself, but
eventually you do. Eventually you do, and you get tested on it.
Yeah. So when you're developing a fragrance for a brand, say if it was a brand that had a sporting image, what kind of fragrance would you go for? How do you
So with a sporting image, I would look at raw materials that are very fresh, maybe in the citrus family, other materials that we call ozonic, that give you the sense of fresh air, or marine, that give you the sense of being on the sea and the sea breeze, and start from there to put them together. And then if it's for a masculine sporty image, ground it with some notes of woods such as cedarwood or patchouli to ground the scent.
So which comes first? Do you say to yourself, okay, sports, and then associate all the words that sort of are linked to it, and then look for, I guess, you know, images and sort of scents that would kind of blend in with that? Or do you kind of work in a scent and then say, hey, this could be something that could be used in the sporting arena?
For 90% of my time, I'm working with a marketing concept and really translating that marketing concept into how it should smell. So I'm working from imagery, and then in my mind's eye or my mind's nose, I come up with how I think it should smell and then work to eventually achieve that. I do some just what we call blue sky in developing fragrances for just the occasion if something comes up, and then I have the perfect fragrance for it.
Okay. Well, for us consumers, those of us who use perfume, tell us what's the right way to choose a perfect perfume for you?
So I think the most important thing is that when you go to the fragrance counter, ask a lot of questions. What is new? What has come out on the market? But then try maybe 3 on the blotter. no more than 3. If you, as an average consumer, if you start smelling more than 3, you will become fatigued, and you won't be able to determine the differences between them. And then always, always put it on your own skin, because fragrances smell different on everyone's skin. Live with it for a little while. Maybe walk around, do some more shopping, and then come back to it, because really you're living with this fragrance on your skin for 6, maybe 8 hours.
And it smells different on different people,
absolutely,
doesn't it?
Absolutely. It smells different on different people. A lot of it is due to your diet, because whatever that you put into your body actually comes through your skin. So if you have a diet that has a lot of spice or a lot of garlic, that's going to affect how a fragrance smells on your skin.
So if you had a spicy meal, then you gotta think, maybe I would use it for food.
Exactly. You might need something a little bit heavier just to cover the spices.
Well, you brought some in this morning. Maybe you can take us through how you would... Can you mix scents? Can you mix perfumes and say, today I want to, I don't know, mix this and that? And
well, we never discourage a consumer from trying to mix scents, although the fragrances that you have there were developed as a fragrance in and of itself. So they're very complex, from their top notes to the heart to their base notes. There are other brands that, such as Jo Malone, that specifically design their fragrances to be blended. So the notes tend to be a little bit more simplified. But these are very complex. But I would never discourage a consumer from trying to mix their own, because you find your own personality sometimes in doing that.
So how would you mix your own then?
Well, you would mix your own right on your skin. So you spray, let's say, your favorite fragrance, and then you might top it off with something else that you like the top note, and just, it's right on your skin. You can do it directly.
Okay, tell us what you mean by top note and the bottom note.
Yeah.
Describe for us what you mean.
So the top note is the part of the fragrance that you smell when you first spray your fragrance.
Yep.
It lasts about 20 minutes on your skin, and that's all the light citrus, floral, green type of notes.
Okay.
Then it evolves into what we call the heart note or the mid note, and that is really the part of the fragrance that when you think about your scent, you remember it, because you're living with it for a couple of hours. So a lot of the florals, the woods, the spices are there. And then the base note is the part of the fragrance that lasts the longest on your skin.
Okay.
So musk, dark woods, resins can fall into the base, and that really anchors the scent on your skin.
Well, you brought some in that right now, and I thought we'd put you to a quick test. Maybe you can see what, based on what you know of Yvonne, the 2-minute encounter you've had with us, you can...
Because a lot is to do with personality as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I'm thinking a little sophisticated, but liking maybe a little bit of a sparkling freshness to it.
Sounds good.
Wow.
Okay. So let me just do this. Let me see what you think about this.
Lovely. It is sophisticated.
Does it smell like you?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, then she has to absolutely try it on her skin, right? That's the most important thing. So you can just dab that right on your skin.
Now, also, where to apply perfume? Where is the best place you should apply? I've been told that on your neck is actually not a good idea. Is that correct? To get the most out of your perfume?
You can apply it on your neck. I often say applying fragrance in your hair for a woman is a very nice place, because it lasts longer, and then you smell it as your hair moves.
Right.
But quite honestly, it's wherever you want to be smelled. Sometimes in maybe a cooler weather, you might want to spray it on your scarf, so you have it around your neck, and then you can always smell it when you want that little piece of comfort.
What about our humid weather here? Because it does kind of change the way things smell.
It does. It absolutely does. And it actually makes it more difficult to smell fragrances in the humidity. So I always recommend something a little lighter, a little fresher, because that's going to evaporate faster on your skin.
So you would recommend, you were saying before, eau de toilette?
Yes, I think an eau de toilette would be a great way of wearing fragrance in a hotter, more humid climate. Also, you can spray it on your clothes, and then it will stay on your clothes for a long time as well.
Yeah, but won't it have a different smell as opposed to putting it on your skin?
Yes, it will, but you'll get the essence of the scent.
Right, okay.
And we hear that you always go scentless. I mean, you... in that sense, unscented.
Unscented, yes. I do go unscented just because I need to keep my skin as clean as possible, and every shower gel, every shampoo, every soap does have fragrance to it.
Yeah.
So just to minimize the the interaction with other scents on my skin. For the most part, I do go unscented. But on the weekends, I'm always wearing the fragrances that I'm in the process of creating. So I'm wearing a lot of scent, but through the fragrances that I apply, not through other products.
Okay, so in a way it's clearing your palette as well.
Yes.
We had to ask you before in our introduction, a stuffy nose must really dampen your day at work.
Yes, yes. Then I have to do paperwork instead of smelling, because when you have a cold, you know, just the way when you have a cold, you can't taste anything. Because most of your taste is through smell. When I have a cold, I have to do paperwork and I can't smell anything.
I see. Okay, very important to keep your nose healthy then.
Yes,
thank you
absolutely.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, Trudy Lauren, the perfumer and also Vice President of Corporate Fragrance Development worldwide at the Estee Lauder companies, just showing us, I guess, our sense of smell is so important. We associate so many things with it, you know.
Indeed.
Yeah,
take it for granted as well. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So you take it back. I won't smell you. I mean, that would come out wrong.